Hey guys, how you doing today? Just got off work, went and had myself a nice burrito from the burrito place down the street. Feeling got a nice day off coming tomorrow. The new Cyberpunk 2077 is coming out, so I'm feeling mildly blessed. I have to say, like I feel as though my work is coming together. Everything is feeling safe at the moment. I feel good about the community that I'm in. I feel pleased. I wish I could be more active in my community, but with the pandemic being as it is, that's not on the docket. So, I think one of the things that I'd like to talk about, this is going to get a bit woo-woo again, as it does from time to time, and so I like to warn people up front. If you think that the spiritual conversations, the conversations about our ethereal selves, or the universality of anything and all that, is not something you are interested in listening to or talking about, little dog just walked by. Sorry, I get distracted by little dogs. If that's something that you're not interested in hearing about, please skip this video. I won't be offended. I understand it's one of those topics of conversation that can be contentious and can lose people respect, lose ground. I try very hard to keep the conversation within the realm of sort of secularized language. Again, I was raised as a evangelical Christian. I wouldn't consider myself, while I consider myself a student of the Bible, I definitely take a secular approach to that text. But the thing I think I want to talk about tonight is chakras. Chakras are fascinating, and let me be as upfront as I possibly can be when I'm having this conversation about the chakras. I won't defend their existence. I won't defend the existence of chakras as a real, tangible, physical thing that exists in the world. I do think there is some interesting evidence to support the idea that chakras do exist within the human body, but I just don't think it's that relevant. That just the simple contemplation of chakras is enough to achieve your goals or to achieve what it is you are attempting to do through understanding and discussing and listening to and contemplating a chakra system. Their existence is not necessary. What is necessary is simply the work or the journey or the contemplation of them. And I don't need to believe that there are balls of energy in my body, physically and actually, in order to benefit from thinking about chakras and thinking about how they operate. And thinking about how, because fundamentally what it does is it creates a thinking pattern, or it allows one to think about their own body in a different and interesting way, which is what I rather like about it, and why I want to discuss it here, because it's something I think about pretty regularly, and I'm trying to get into a more daily habit of doing what I call a chakra checkup, which I'm finding very useful. So here in the West, we have a kind of attitude that we are just brains walking around in meat sacks, that brains are the command unit, And it is from our brains that all things are derived, and we direct things through our brains. And that the body exists simply as a vessel for our brains. I think that this is a reversal of what is actual. That our brains are not a command unit insofar as they are a processing unit. That they exist, that the brain exists, not to dictate the terms by which we live our lives, but simply to, well, simply, very complex, but rather to process the information that we receive, so that we can reflect upon it and react. And I feel like the chakra system is inverted to this idea, and that's what I rather like about it. It begins in the genital region, to put it, to put the finest point on it. It begins with your genitals. It begins at the base of your existence, right? And that's the root chakra at the base. And this acknowledges completely, right, that you have, there is a primal desire that supersedes your intellectual reasoning. That you live in a body that begins with this urge for survival, this urge for reproduction, this urge for safety and security, that these things are primary and necessary and rooted deeply within your body, in your most sensitive areas. And so you begin your journey not here in your brain, thinking, I'm a brain walking around in a body, which creates strange relationships. People have strange relationships with their bodies when they think this way. They feel as though their sexual self is a burden or a curse, that they have no control over their urges, that they're just acting in a way which to them seems rational, because they believe that they are intellectually reacting to stimuli instead of actually pursuing and investing energy and time in investigating your own body and your own self. Because your body is the thing that's taking in information, and you don't necessarily have control of it, right? Like if you see a beautiful woman walking down the street, and you are a straight cis male, as I am, and you see a beautiful woman walking down the street, there is a primal desire and a primal urge that you do not actually have control over. The primal desire and the primary urge, which originates in the root chakra, is there, whether you like it or not. But what you do have control of is its journey and the energy that you put into it and the reaction that you have to that, and whether or not you pursue it or not. And so let's use that example as we go up the chakras, right? If you are unaware of your root chakra and you don't really contemplate it and you simply allow it to lead you where it wants to go, then it's going to get you into trouble, right? This is especially true of young men, right? Because we don't really have any education or any any connection to. There's no teaching. There's nobody to guide you through this process of being attracted to people and having sexual feelings, right? When I was growing up, I was literally taught abstinence, which is a disaster, a complete and total disaster. Simply a way for the people who are in charge to wash their hands of any responsibility of their quarries, right? Like that you have these children in your care, and instead of saying to them, okay, you are sexual beings, you live in the world, and you're going to have these sexual thoughts and feelings, and this is how you're going to move through it. Instead of even beginning that process, simply saying, just abstain and everything will be fine. It's childish and stupid, frankly. So from the root chakra, this energy comes, right? You see someone you're attracted to, there it is. And it goes up. The energy goes from there and it goes up into your pleasure chakra. Your pleasure chakra, which exists just below your belly button, right? You have butterflies in your stomach. When you laugh, you have a big belly laugh, right? This is coming from the pleasure chakra that exists above the root chakra, right? And that's important because it's important to know that your body is structured to have these sexual and survival-based instincts, and the first checkpoint that they pass through is a very rudimentary, do you like it or not? Check. Does this give you pleasure or not? Does it give you pleasure to move forward on this? Does it give you pleasure to not move forward on this? And it's a very basic, rudimentary check that exists right in your stomach, right? And the more awareness you put into it, the more time you take actively being aware of that, the more you can key in more quickly to what you like and what you don't like, and why you like it and why you don't like it, right? Rather than simply being whisked away by your emotional self, which is the danger, right? We've seen this constantly. Everybody sees this. Everybody's witnessed it. Everybody's experienced it. That your emotional self can just take over. And if you are unaware of your body and you're unaware of where emotions come from or where they dwell in your body, which I think the chakra system is useful for discussing and discovering this, then you can just be taken away, and you will end up in a place that in retrospect you will go, why did I get there? Why did I do that? And it's because you're ignoring some very basic fundamentals of how your body acts and lives in the world. Again, why I think the chakra system is useful. So from your pleasure chakra, you go to your power chakra, which is your diaphragm, right? That your diaphragm is this is where your power lives as a person, right? When people are telling you to stand up straight, and people are telling you to, stand up straight with your shoulders back, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, really all of that exists in the diaphragm, right? It's that muscle that runs underneath your rib cage, right? And if you have this tight, just like diaphragm, then you're going to exist in a place of rage, right? You're going to exist in a place of anger. Whereas if you have a supple diaphragm, right, then the energy can pass through, right? So let's take, again, you have a sexual attraction, right? So if it passes through your pleasure chakra, and your pleasure chakra is very much like, yes, that gives me pleasure to witness and I would love to pursue. Well, if you have this power chakra and it's tense and it's difficult, then you may be too aggressive, right, in that pursuit. Or you may be too dismissive of the other person's point of view or perspective, right? You may be brutish, come off and dismissive, and be demanding. Whereas if things are more supple, if things are more relaxed, if things are more balanced and in place, then the power will accept the other power of the individual, and that's very important in this particular chakra. Is you this is the struggle of the power chakra, is that it's there so that you can exert your own will, but at the same time not deny the will of others. And so if you deny your own will, if you deny your own power, then you end up losing self-esteem. You end up being able to be pushed over very easily because you lack the power to fight back. And if it's too out of balance rather, the other way, then you will overwhelm others. That's what you will attempt to do. You will attempt to overwhelm others with your power, right? And chasing them away. On the one hand, the person who is your object of desire will think you're weak and be disinterested in you. On the other hand, they will think that you are crazy, or not, or angry, or dismissive of them. Whereas being in balance with your power chakra will allow them perhaps to push on you ever so slightly, and then you can push back. And there's that play that exists there. And then the energy flows up to your heart chakra. And your heart chakra is where forgiveness lives. That your heart chakra, right? We've all had our heart broken. We've all experienced the pain of loss and experienced the ache that exists in our heart. And we all know that forgiveness comes from the heart, and that love exists in the heart. And it's useful to know this, and it's useful to acknowledge it, and it's useful to understand the chain, right? That it goes from your root to your pleasure to your power to your heart. It's useful to understand that that's the scale, and that because from there you can open yourself up and allow yourself to see yourself in the other, forgive the small errors and meaningless mistakes of the other, especially and to find empathy and compassion. Right? If this is out of balance, if your heart is out of balance, this is why women are very concerned about being objectified, right? That being just used as an object for an individual's sexual desire. And so it is in the heart where the sexual desire that definitely exists and is coming from the root chakra, through the pleasure chakra, into the power chakra, and into the heart chakra. This is where that energy, that sexual desire and that sexual energy meets with compassion and empathy, and turns that desire, rather than simply being a desire for sexual gratification and objectification, into a more complete desire for their total self. That not only do you want them for their body, but you would also want them for their mind and for their heart and for their chakra system and for who they are in the world. And this is where the heart lives. And then it comes up to the throat chakra, which I've been struggling with recently myself because I've hurt myself. I've put too much power through my throat, and I've been taking advantage or taking for granted my voice, my throat chakra, for sure. And this is where your articulation comes from. All of the energy that begins in the root goes to the pleasure, comes to the power, goes to the heart, and then comes through the mouth. And what's interesting to note, in the chakra system, the energy that begins in your nuts, it begins in your root chakra, reaches your mouth before it reaches your head. You ever meet these people, right? They talk without thinking, right? They don't think before they speak. That's because they're speaking directly from their root to what they love and what they feel they have power to say, and for what they have opened their heart to, and it comes out of their mouth. And if all of these things are in balance with one another, very beautiful things can come out, and very sweet things can come out. But if you don't include your inner eye, right, your third eye chakra, right here, to allow the brain to actually process the information, right? If you don't actually think before you speak, right? If the energy just comes out here and it doesn't ever reach here, or it's blocked, or it's out of balance, then you can say and believe a lot of foolish things. This is why very intelligent people can be very delusional, because they're living here, right? And if they live here and they don't actually accept that there's energy that starts in the base of their body and comes up to their mind, and the mind is one of the last chakras that exists, right? It's the 6th out of 7, right? The root is the first, right? Again, the root, the pleasure, the power, the heart, the voice, the throat, and then the inner eye, or the mind, right? And it's only after accepting this structure and having energy come up into your mind that it can come out of your mouth in a way that is well crafted or articulated. So far, so hooby, right? The final chakra. This one exists here, above you, right? This is the spirit chakra. This is the chakra that gets into universal energy, right? It gets into your spiritual connection, into your spiritual self. And this is a very interesting part of the chakra system, right? Because if you watch my last Hooby Jooby video, it was very much about how we each are our own divine creatures, right? And it's this chakra that allows you to fully embrace this. Because what you're fundamentally doing by thinking of this chakra, which it doesn't matter if you believe it exists or not. I really want to reaffirm this. It doesn't matter if you believe that there is actually spheres of energy in your body that are connected, right? It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're thinking about them and that you're contemplating them. Because if you contemplate on this chakra, you are, in effect, contemplating something that exists outside of yourself and yet is part of yourself, right? Much in the same way that you can look at the tree, right, and understand that it is part of your ecosystem, but not necessarily a part of you directly, right? And by extending your energy outside of yourself, you contemplate the connections and the energy that exists in all things, and in you as well. And by actively pursuing, by not simply reacting to the world around you, right? This is what's important. If you exist in the world simply by reacting, and you can just be reacting and be reactive and then just end up where you end up and say, I guess that's fine. But if you actively study your own body in this method by saying, okay, I have sexual desires, and I have an energy, a mind in my root, that seeks survival, that seeks safety, that seeks reproduction, that has this kind of a thing. Like, men joke all the time that we have 2 brains, right? Well, this is what we're talking about. And if we deny it or pretend it doesn't exist, then that will lead us down very dangerous and very terrible paths. And again, that energy goes up into the sacral, the pleasure chakra, and then through that it goes into power, then the heart, then the voice, then the mind, then the spirit. And by contemplating on this and by thinking about this, and every day I sort of stop and I stop myself. In the morning I do it, and then at some time in the middle of the day I stop myself and I just do a quick check-in on that structure and how I'm feeling. And strange and interesting and wonderful things come of it. And you find yourself dwelling on things that you had long forgotten or that you had maybe not considered important, and then you reach your heart and maybe you've been stubborn, right? Maybe you realize in yourself that you have been stubborn and that you, if not are wrong, certainly that there were different ways you could have gone about articulating yourself and your opinion and stating what it is that you believe to be true. Anyway, I'm running low on time now. I've got to close this one down. I suggest I just want people to think about other systems. The Western world that we live in really presents a very hardline materialist perspective that doesn't really offer wiggle room for contemplation of the self beyond our material needs or desires. And something like the chakra system allows us to at least pretend that there are different ways to observe the self and to be aware of the self and to think about the self. And I feel like that by itself makes the chakra system useful as a tool to move forward with. Anyway, if you made it to the end of this, guys, subscribe, right? If you listen to 27 minutes and 30 seconds of me talking about chakras. I do a lot of politics. I do a lot of things on this channel. If you made it here, just subscribe. You're going to get a lot more of this kind of stuff from me. I do daily videos. Like it, send it around, spread it around. Leave a comment. I love the comments. I really do. I really love that people are talking to each other and communicating to one another about these things. And people have been saying very kind things to me, which is always lovely. It's always lovely. Say something kind to me. There you go. Here's a nice thing that you can do. Say something kind to me. I hope you're all doing well out there. I love you all, okay? Good luck.